Regular meeting of the Mishawaka Common Council for Monday, February 2nd, 2026 will please come to order. Good evening. Those of you who are in attendance, we are happy to see you. If you would, please take a moment to check your cell phone to make sure that you have placed it on silent or vibrate. And as one of our standing rules, if you would remove all caps, we would appreciate that as well. For those of you who are participating remotely, we welcome you. Members of the public are asked to place their microphone on mute during the meeting, with the exception of any public hearing. At the appropriate point in the meeting, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting such comments as they may wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public are once again asked to place their microphone on mute, and we thank all of you for your cooperation with us this evening. With that, if you would, please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hazen?
Here.
Mrs. Volker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Benicki?
Here.
Mr. Emmons?
Here.
Ms. Hahn?
Here.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Here.
Mr. Violi?
Here.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Here.
All present in the council chambers.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of January 5th, 2026. Are there any additions or corrections? Then hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
We have petition number 2026-01 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is a petition to annex and establish zoning as R1 Single Family District at 55660 Fur Road. This is signed by William Loudon. We also have petition number 2026-02 to the honorable members of the Common Council. This is to annex and establish zoning as C1 General Commercial and rezone from C4 Automobile-Oriented Commercial to C1 General Commercial, the northwest corner of McKinley and Fur Road, 1550 East McKinley, and this is signed by John Payne. We have a letter from the Board of Zoning Appeals regarding their recommendations from their January 13th, 2026 meeting. Honorable members, a regular meeting of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals was held on the above date at which time the following use variance was considered. Appeal number 2025-42, an appeal submitted by Mark Shea, trustee, Rosemary and John C. Revocable Trust, requesting a use variance for 340 West Cleveland Road, Mishawaka, Indiana, to allow a residential unit in a commercial building. The board, with a vote of 5-0, provided a favorable recommendation. This is signed by Donna Witt, Administrative Planner.
Thank you. This evening, we have no report of any special committee, so we'll move into ordinances on first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2026-03, an ordinance concerning the construction of additions, improvements, and extensions to the sewage works of the City of Mishawaka, the issuance of revenue bonds to provide cost thereof, the collection, segregation, and distribution of the revenues of said works, the safeguarding of the interests of the owners of said revenue bonds, other matters connected therewith, including the issuance of notes in anticipation of bonds and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith.
Proposed ordinance 2026-03 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee. Resolutions.
Resolution number R 2026-01, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a petition of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at the southeast corner of State Road 23 and the Indiana Toll Road.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2026-01. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward.
Good evening, council members. Chris Godlewski, Avonmarsh, 315 West Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend, Indiana. I'm here representing the broker, Anthony Pericini, and the prospective land buyer, Richard Carroll. You may remember this a couple weeks or months ago. This went through the annexation process and recently was annexed into the city. This is the last step for the development before we go to site plan and platting. This is the use variance for the outside storage, more like outside display, as he has a very delicately crafted, ornate set of display of stone and sets of show like pools and spas and things like that to give a finished display of what it might look like if it was in your yard. So when you would drive by this property, it's going to look very tasteful and very attractive. I think that was probably the most important thing that came up in the Plan Commission as well. So if you have any more details on that or the site plan, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If you would, please come forward. And then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution passes 9-0. Resolution number R 2026-02, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a petition of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 340 West Cleveland Road. This is a use variance to allow a second-floor residential unit in the commercial building occupied by a photography studio at 340 West Cleveland Road.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2026-02. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward. Seeing no one, is there anyone online who wishes to speak in favor of proposed resolution 2026-02 related to 340 West Cleveland Road? Mr. Mamalenti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since nobody's here to speak in favor of this resolution, I move for postponement until our next scheduled meeting or until somebody can represent and come to speak to us.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to postpone further public hearing on proposed resolution 2026-02 until our next regularly scheduled council meeting. Are there any additional questions or comments from the council? Then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, so the matter will be postponed to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Resolution number R 2026-03, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving the establishment of the Auto Mall Economic Development Area, the Economic Development Plan for said area, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2026-03. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Ken Prince, Director of Planning and Community Development for the city. First and foremost, as we get into this, and really for the public at large, we are looking to create an additional tax increment finance area. And the reason we're looking to create the additional tax increment finance area is that there are specific city-desired improvements that we would like to fund that we currently do not have the ability to fund. So essentially, by creating a new Auto Mall economic development area, we would essentially, right now, there's a certain tax value associated with that property, that roughly 70 acres. This is located at the northwest corner of Cleveland and Capitol, where Gurley Leap is proposing multiple dealerships and in excess of $100 million investment on that property. And tax increment financing is where we capture the increment between the existing taxes being generated and then the after development taxes being generated for a period of time, in this case 25 years, to pay for essentially infrastructure improvements to serve that area. So in this case, we very specifically want to extend Veterans Parkway from its current terminus near the athletic complex, the Mishawaka Fieldhouse, and take that north to Cleveland Road. In addition to that, we want to widen Cleveland Road and basically to provide, there's roughly 200 acres of developable property that's served from Veterans Parkway, and we believe these infrastructures isn't both necessary and would not otherwise be funded unless we had a new tax increment financing area created to serve it. And I use the example of we have, as all of you know, we have a legacy tax increment financing district. It expires in 2039. With the changes that the state has proposed to SEA 1, that's expected to drop about $4 million a year in revenue. So with that and understanding already that the current legacy tax increment financing district, we have lined up to do very specific and large projects, and so those funds are allocated for the foreseeable future. So when you think of the demolition of the Dodge complex, the construction of infrastructure associated with that, that's roughly a $12 million project. When you think of the Union Street widening project, even though we're requesting or have moved federal aid for the first section, the property acquisition alone is estimated to be about $10 million for the acquisition of property along Union Street. So we can get into those projects at another point in time. I really just wanted to identify why the administration is requesting this, really to fund Veterans Parkway, Cleveland Road, and to facilitate the future economic development of that area by Judy Creek. So tonight, I'm going to walk through a little bit of our interest in providing that. Tom Everett with Barnes & Thornburg will discuss the specific resolution the council is considering this evening, and Sam Schrader with Baker Tilly will present the financial information associated with the project. Even though the action tonight is only for the creation of the area, we wanted you to specifically see the economics associated with the project and why it's important to move forward at this time, because it's a unique opportunity that we have to partner with Gurley Leap. Although we have not asked Gurley Leap to present this evening, Joe Page, who's the facility director for Gurley Leap, is in the audience should you have any questions on that. I would also note that Alex McAllister and/or Chris Postolic, who are the chief financial officer and vice president of operations with Gurley Leap, may be participating remotely and could also answer questions for you. So in terms of history on the project, the Gurley Leap Auto Mall was originally annexed to the city in two actions, essentially came in 2024. The company, if you will, looked at this as a very long-term play. They obviously have existing dealerships in the city of Mishawaka, have looked at Mishawaka as a long-term partner, and really this auto mall concept is very prevalent in larger cities, and they were looking to create it here, and very importantly, they wanted to continue to be in the city of Mishawaka and be that good corporate citizen. I will say that Gurley Leap historically has been one of the largest taxpayers in the city, and they have continued to be for some time. So we appreciate that partnership and really appreciate the investment that they were looking to undertake. But the challenge with their property is that although it was adjacent to the city by the toll road, it really wasn't adjacent to the city in terms of the extension of infrastructure and the improvements associated with that. So when they decided to pursue this site, they knew very well that it was their responsibility to extend utilities and to do basic improvements to Cleveland Road. So the TIF that we are looking to create is not intended to fund the Gurley Leap side of those improvements. So there's roughly $8 to $9 million of improvements that Gurley Leap will still be performing and paying for, or not performing, that will be paying for as part of what is envisioned. The city component is roughly $10, $11 million. The overall project, when you combine them together, is estimated to be $19 million associated with real capital improvements in terms of the extension of Veterans Parkway, the utilities, and the widening of Cleveland. Why it makes sense to partner is, if you can imagine, if we were doing it independently, and we'll get into this in a second, but if we were to do it independently, Gurley Leap would have extended the utilities across essentially farmland, because that's what they would be responsible to do. It would have to be maintained over time, so they'd have to do a temporary road surface or alley or drive or something so we could access it for our utility maintenance, because if you have a water main break and it's in the middle of this farm field, if we can't have access to it, it would have been problematic. In addition, the improvements on Cleveland Road, they would have been required to put in the traffic light and do the widening associated with the Automall project. But there's further widening required for the long term of connecting to Capitol Avenue because of Veterans Parkway being extended. So if they would have performed their improvements independently, we would have come back 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later, and then ripped up a fair amount of the improvements that they just did to complete the improvements that were required by the city. By doing them together allows us to basically optimize the performance of all our dollars going in, so we save a little bit of money, which I'm sure is in the excess of $1 million in terms of partnering on projects together. So that's the long-term thinking of the company. The company also was responsible for obtaining the property to extend the utilities. So if you're familiar with the area, the Penn Farm goes up, and I want to say it's about a quarter mile south. Our current city limits are about a quarter mile south of Cleveland Road. So they had to negotiate with the property owner and acquire property to extend the utilities going north. And we specifically requested that they acquire it as right-of-way. So they had additional expense of buying the property instead of just obtaining an easement over it, which is significantly different. If you put utilities over it or through it, you essentially can farm most of it at the end of the day. But if you acquire it and put a road through it, that significantly impacts your ability to farm and is a much different acquisition. So they perform that aspect, and as a partnership, the city agreed to perform the design on the water and sewer, which is in our benefit, as well as there's currently a water line that serves Beacon on the north side of the toll road that needs to be extended. Right now, that's a long dead end. And so we need to extend that water to the south to the Judy Creek water treatment facility to provide the appropriate circulation of that district. So part of that, we are providing that also as a benefit to our system. So those were the what was accomplishing there. So when we originally looked at this, our initial thought was we had Baker Tilly do the analysis of what the Automall would generate. So they contacted the assessor and walked through the numbers and then projected what it would do and then what we could bond off of it. And what we determined at that point in time is we did not have enough funding to complete the improvements necessary. So at that point in time, we were basically giving the direction to Gurley Leap. You go ahead, and we're going to have to follow because we don't have the ability. And part of that is the capitalized interest, the debt coverage, and the things that Sam is going to talk about in a little bit that we didn't have the ability to perform. So in reviewing this with Gurley Leap and the difficulties associated with this, we'd asked them to consider basically being the financier of the extension so that they would undertake the debt and that it would be repaid through the tax revenue generated by their facility. So by doing that, that enabled enough revenue to come in to cover the improvements the city had a desire to perform, which is that $10, $11 million, a portion of that $19 million project to extend both Veterans Parkway and do the widening on Cleveland Road as part of that. In terms of those projects, Gurley Leap has a need to be in their facility by the end of 2027. To accomplish that, we need to break the project into 3 phases. So the very first phase is the extension of utilities. That will be anticipated to be bid in March, so we've released the design of that. That is being done as we speak because they need the utilities first. That's followed by the improvements at Cleveland Road. The improvements in Cleveland Road will be accomplished, but they'll be pushing into 2027. And then the final piece would be the extension of Veterans Parkway. So although right now at the field house, the situation of going in and going out by one way isn't ideal, we aren't disrupting the status quo, if you will, by leaving it that way. It was really Gurley Leap's need of being in by 2027 that is directing what piece happens at what point in time. So Veterans Parkway, we anticipate would be completed then in 2028 as part of that. And as part of the development agreement, that was approved by the Redevelopment Commission on Friday of last week that you were copied with has those projects broken out in detail, so I won't go into that at this point in time. So with that, that kind of outlines what we're trying to accomplish, why we're looking to do it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have before Tom comes up and talks about the legal of where we're at in the process.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Prince? Not so much a question, but your presentation reminded me that going back to the inception of the council's involvement with this project, we expressed some desire to be updated periodically as Gurley Leap moves forward with regard to not only what's happening with respect to the property that's at issue this evening, but also the significant amount of property that's going to be vacated by Gurley Leap as they transition after 2027 into their new location. So it's somewhat tangential to what we're discussing this evening, and I don't want to get bogged down in the details, but my hope would be that, as a reminder, that you can continue to interface with representatives of Gurley Leap and provide us with some updates with regard to what happens in the aftermath of the move to this new location.
Mr. President, we will specifically ask for that. As you know, this comes back before from a financing standpoint. At your March meeting, it would be appropriate at that time to provide an update. The other factor that I think plays into part here is I believe Gurley Leap is currently leasing their existing facilities, so they aren't necessarily the ones that will make that determination. But I think it's appropriate to have that update at that time.
Thank you, I appreciate that. The question I do have for you, though, and I appreciate the emphasis that you put on how this benefits this entire area beyond the Gurley Leap parcel. What I took from the documents that were submitted to us and maybe the developmental plan that was also approved as part of this is that in addition to benefiting property beyond Gurley Leap proper and the Auto Mall location, this is the culmination of what we said that we were going to do with regard to improvements in the area as we approved prior projects such as the field house.
That is correct, yes.
And that this has a benefit not only for that area, not only for the businesses who are located within that area, but has a benefit for all residents and taxpayers in Mishawaka by virtue of the fact that it sets the stage for future development, which helps us to maintain a steady tax rate and accrues to the benefit of everybody who owns property or lives in Mishawaka. Would you agree?
I concur.
All right. Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Prince? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Please come forward.
Good evening, council members. Tom Everett with Barnes & Thornburg with offices at 201 South Main Street in South Bend. And we are serving as special counsel and bond counsel to the city in connection with the Auto Mall project. So I'm just going to go over briefly the resolution that's actually before the council this evening. That resolution approves the creation of the new TIF area in the city to be known as the Auto Mall Economic Development Area that Ken just described. In recent years, the council has amended the consolidated TIF area in connection with several projects, and the steps to create a new TIF area are the exact same as amending an existing area. So first, the Redevelopment Commission adopted a declaratory resolution back in December that designated the Auto Mall TIF area. Last month, then, the Plan Commission considered and approved a resolution approving the designation of the TIF area, and then it comes to the council, to you this evening, for consideration and approval. As Ken mentioned, this new Auto Mall Economic Development Area would consist of just the Auto Mall project site and would capture new property taxes that are generated in the TIF area as a result of the project itself. If the council approves the resolution this evening, it will then go back to the Redevelopment Commission for a public hearing and then consideration of final approval of the new economic development area. As Ken mentioned, in addition to designating this new TIF area, last week the Redevelopment Commission adopted a preliminary resolution to consider the issuance of TIF bonds that would be payable from the Auto Mall TIF. These bonds would be issued to fund the public infrastructure projects that Ken described. Later this month, the Redevelopment Commission will consider a bond resolution that would authorize the Redevelopment Commission to issue redevelopment district bonds, and then that would come back to the council for approval on March 2nd. Under the current timeline, the bonds would then close around the end of April, and the first phase of the public infrastructure project would begin shortly after that. So happy to answer any questions on any of that.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Everett? Thank you for your work on this. One question. With regard to the financing that Mr. Prince mentioned in passing and that we're going to hear more about in a couple minutes from Mr. Schrader, is there a separate agreement between either the Redevelopment Commission or any other entity affiliated with the city that further memorializes that relationship and the, not unique, not unheard of, but somewhat unique way that we are financing this transaction? Or is this the entire packet of documents that will paper over this transaction?
So there will be a number of documents that are executed at the time of closing on the bonds. The development agreement that the Redevelopment Commission approved last week, that contains terms relating to the issuance and purchase of the bonds by the developer. In that agreement, the Gurley Leap commits to purchase the bonds, and the city commits to undertake the public infrastructure projects that are funded from those bonds. So that development agreement really sets the stage for everything that is to take place if approved by the council. And then all of those agreements would be further memorialized in all the closing documents that come along with the bonds.
Not so much the closing documents, but that development agreement, will that be provided to the council at the time that we consider the specific financing
Yes.
issuance of the bonds?
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Everett? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If you would, please come forward.
Hello, this is Chris Costello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but if you can hold on for a second, sir, and remute yourself. We have one other live presenter, at least at this point in time, and then I'll ask for people who are participating remotely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, council. My name is Sam Schrader with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. Our office is at 112 Ironworks Avenue. Here to kind of piggyback off both what Ken and Tom already introduced to you. Really just wanted to kind of take an opportunity to introduce the financing and explain why the new TIF area fits in with kind of the plans for the financing and actually funding these infrastructure projects. I'm going to hop right in here on slide 2. Hopefully you guys all get a copy of that brief presentation. Do you need me to navigate this? Okay, sure. So the main reason for the establishment of this TIF area is to ensure that this project is completely siloed from other redevelopment funds and city funds, especially, as Ken alluded to earlier, in light of the SCA 1 changes and the hurdles that communities are having to face as a result of that. So any bonds issued would be payable solely from project tax increment from the project site, in addition to the minimum tax payment made by the company. Why that minimum tax payment is important, I know Ken already kind of mentioned it, but when this project was first brought to our attention, we reached out to the St. Joseph County Assessor's Office to have a better understanding of how the project would assess. There's not a lot of great, comparable properties within the county for new projects of this nature. They were great to work with. They provided us an assessed value estimate of about $58.8 million, which we estimate will generate approximately $1.7 million of annual TIF revenue. Now, we've had several conversations with the company that, and it's their belief that that may be a little bit conservative, which is one of the reasons that they were willing to entertain entering into a minimum tax payment in an amount that would surpass the estimated annual TIF revenues. So that's how we arrived at our $2.2 million minimum tax payment. And why that's important is because that allows us to structure the bonds at a level that will accomplish the goals of both the city and the long-term goals for Veterans Parkway and that area in terms of the infrastructure needs and the company's $8 to $9 million portion as well. So essentially, that additional tax payment helps support that company portion of the project. One thing that's going to be unique a little bit to Mishawaka specifically is that we anticipate these bonds being purchased by the company or related subsidiary. And this structure is important in this case because it does allow for more efficient use of project revenues to be used for those infrastructure needs. For a couple reasons. One, you're going to limit your transactional costs significantly without having a required purchaser fee or underwriter's discount, placement fee, things that you have historically been charged on your bonds that have been issued and purchased by a third-party purchaser. In addition to a debt service reserve requirement, as we understand it, the company is not going to require a debt service reserve. In addition to that, there's also going to be a lower debt service coverage ratio requirement. As we currently have the bonds structured illustratively, we're anticipating 100% coverage, which means every dollar generated is going to go back towards the project. Slide 3 here really just kind of builds on the comparison the comparison of company purchased TIF bonds and your more traditional third-party TIF bonds, just since it's a little unique. And we just really wanted to talk about the benefits here and really why it's important to pursue this option. So this kind of leads back to the strategy to making sure we're only going to use these new project TIF revenues towards the financing. Without the backing of other revenue sources of the city, these bonds would be, I don't want to say impossible to market to third-party investors, but extremely difficult. And there's a couple reasons for that. We're looking at a single taxpayer development on a project that hasn't been assessed yet. So you have lack of diversity in your tax base on a project that, again, hasn't been assessed. We've had conversations with the assessor, we have a good idea, but, we don't know in 3 years when the project is actually built and assessed what that assessed value is actually going to turn into. So those two risks are going to limit the purchasers that would be interested in this type of offering, and any purchasers that would be willing to kind of look past that, so to speak, would be building in additional protections in the form of a higher interest rate, larger transactional fees up front in terms of their purchaser fee, your debt service reserve requirement, and then additionally, probably a higher debt service coverage ratio in the form of 150% to 200%. So instead of the 1-to-1 dollar in, dollar out ratio we are currently contemplating, it could be for every $2 generated, you're only actually spending $1 towards the project up front. Bottom line here is that all of these factors limit the bonding capacity of the project and cut into the net proceeds available to service the infrastructure needs of that area. A couple slides to wrap up here. This is just specific to the financing. We've outlined here the costs and funding, and really wanted to get ahead of the question, why are we issuing a bond in the amount of $23.5 million when we're funding a $19 million project? This really kind of leads back to the construction timing issue. So as Ken mentioned, the project is anticipated to be completed in 2027, which means it'll be first assessed January 1 of 28 for taxes payable in 2029. Now, we anticipate issuing these bonds in the spring, so those 3 phases of development can get started. But there's going to be a gap, obviously, between closing and when those revenues come in 2029, where there's no revenues available to make those interest-only payments. So we currently have the bond structured where semi-annually, when those interest payments become due, there'll be an additional draw on the bonds that will then be, that will fulfill those interest-only payments in the short term. This is really similar concept to capitalizing interest and setting everything all in a fund for 3 years. It's just a little bit more flexible for the company to not have to set aside an additional $4.5 million upfront at closing. But not uncommon to structures we work with throughout the state. Lastly, here on slide 5, again, just visually wanted to reiterate the concept here of 100% coverage and trying to utilize all the revenues available towards the infrastructure in the area. So again, we're estimating about $2.2 million annually to be available for the infrastructure projects and have structured the bond payments accordingly so that, again, essentially almost every dollar that's being generated is going right back into servicing those debt service payments on a semi-annual basis and paying off the bonds as quickly as possible. That's all I have for you all. If you have any questions, happy to try to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Schrader? Mr. Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Sam, good to see you. Question on this. If this goes through, there is no chance that it will go out to a third party, right? What we're voting on, we guarantee that the company is going to purchase them, correct?
They are going to purchase them, yes, correct.
Okay. But just to reiterate, it cannot go to a third party with the way we're doing it, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Violi?
Thank you, Mr. President. The total price, does that include the, like, personal property, or is it just real, the
assessment, you're
Yes.
speaking towards the net TIF.
Right.
Is only the real property improvements.
will there be personal property? We don't know, or?
As we currently have it set up, the TIF area that's going to be established is only capturing real property. So that's not something that's been discussed. Given the nature of the development, I don't know how much equipment would be.
Well, with the threshold being $2 million, I was just curious if we're going to get any personal property taxes out of it too, so.
Yep, it's not something we've contemplated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Schrader? Mrs. Volker?
Hi, thank you. I am a pretty basic finance person, not a CPA, nothing. So I just want to understand how this works. So the company, which is Gurley Leap or a subsidiary, is going to buy $23,595,717 worth of bonds? No. Yes?
That's correct, yes.
Then how are they going to make any money on it? Do they make any money on it, or is it just kind of a
So
even-steven transaction?
they'll essentially get their property taxes back in the form of the bond payments semi-annually. So
Okay.
they're not making money, they're, essentially kind of trading that debt service payment for their annual or semi-annual property tax payment.
Okay.
They're essentially getting the taxes that they pay back in the form of the bond payment. But in terms of making any money on it, it's kind of a wash from there.
Okay. So tell me about I'm sorry, but the estimated interest draws. Where does that come in?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, and it's a little bit of a unique concept. So essentially, at closing, just to kind of take it from the top, Gurley Leap will fund the $19 million to the town to start working on the infrastructure. There won't be any revenue from their development until 2029. So those interest payments, however, will start being due every August 1 and February 1, so starting in August 1 of 2026. So at that time, when that interest payment is due, and I have the amortization schedule in front of me, or in this folder, but essentially, let's say it's $50,000 due of interest at that time, they'll draw an additional $50,000 of what are deemed bond proceeds to make that payment. Now, there may be language in the agreements where there's not an actual physical transfer of funds, given that they're the bond purchaser. But essentially, they're just drawing additional, it's just setting aside additional bond proceeds to make those interest-only payments in the interim until 2029, when those revenues start becoming available.
So sorry, I just have to ask. So the cash, where does the cash come from to pay this? Is Gurley Leap borrowing money?
They're fronting it. Yes,
So
and they'll
they're
have,
borrowing money.
they probably have a third-party
Okay.
lender that they're working, probably, they definitely do. And then, yes, that's how the transaction will work.
Okay,
They'll front the 19 million up front, and then those subsequent interest payments, and then everything will start to be paid down once those revenues start coming in 2029.
okay. Thank you. I feel a lot better. Understand a little bit better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Schrader? Well, thank you for your work on this and your presentation. Always good to see you back in the Princess City of Mishawaka.
Always good to be here.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Mr. President, I'm sorry to come back up again. Ken Prince, Director of Planning and Community Development. So Councilwoman Volker brought up the question of how this is. I just want to note that in the development agreement, it identifies the interest rate at 7.5%. So in terms of the cost of borrowing money, that is the cost of borrowing money. So Mr. Schrader was correct in terms of it's all being paid back from the financing, but there is an interest that's associated with it. That's why there is capitalized interest in the beginning, and that's why it's an extended period for 25 years. And Baker Tilly, we asked them specifically to identify the number of what is the current bond market. So that 7.5, that's how that 7.5% was derived, was from the current bond market, that if we were to go out, that would be the anticipated interest rate that would be paid.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in favor? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor?
Hi, this is Chris Paselic, VP of Operations with Gurley Leaf Automotive Family, 9122 Northeast 168th Court, Vancouver, Washington 98682. Appreciate the council taking time tonight and reviewing this entire process of what we're trying to do here at Gurley Leaf Automotive Family and work with Mishawaka. As Ken and the attorneys and accountants all talked about, this is a very in-depth project, and we understood that timing is of the essence. So when we came to Ken and discussed the situation, we knew that we'd have to be working at speed. And this is one way that we could get it to happen, because we need to be in by October 7th of 2027, because that's our 50th anniversary, and the Leafs are putting pressure upon us on the construction side, and that means we're putting pressure on Ken from the city side. When they came up with this project, and we went back to Leafs and said, you need to come up with another $25 million, they just sort of looked at us with a strange look and said, will that get the deal done? And we said, yes, we worked real close with the city, and thanks to Ken and what Baker Tilly and everybody else has done, we're able to get to this point now with your approval to move forward on this project. It's going to be an amazing facility, the 70 acres, and the Leafs obviously could have chosen another area, but knew it was important to stay with Mishawaka. They've enjoyed the relationship that we've had for many, many years, and are continue to do it many years in the future. And for them to put the $25 million up from the family and friends and family and company that all of the Leafs, shows their interest in the city and how they want to make this work for everyone. So we appreciate what the council is doing and their approval upon this. Hopefully tonight so we can move forward and get the dirt moved over there and put up some amazing buildings that'll look great for the city of Mishawaka as well as ourselves. And then we'll pay lots of taxes in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else participating remotely who wishes to speak? Hearing no one, is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? If so, please come forward. And then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution passes 9-0. Resolution R 2026-04, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka declaring a certain area in the city of Mishawaka, Indiana to be an economic revitalization area. This is for United Pet Food Producers USA, Inc. It's a declaratory resolution.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2026-04. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, President, members of the council. Derek Spear, City Planner. Offices are located here at City Hall. Also with us tonight is Elodie Fleury, who is the CEO of United Pet Food Producers. This resolution is for a tax abatement petition that it's been filed by the company. United Pet Food Producers acquired the former Well Pet facility in June of 2024. The company is proposing to expand their current facility to include a new building addition for a new drying tower and installation of other manufacturing equipment. The total planned investment for the project is approximately $30 million. Specifically, 2 abatements have been filed for your consideration. One was for real property improvements, and one is for the personal property improvements. The real property improvements include an $11 million expansion, adding a dryer tower addition to the south side of the building. The personal property request includes $19 million for an investment in equipment, for automation improvements, for packaging and bulk receiving, and other machinery. Well Pet LLC, which is the prior owner of the facility, has received 3 prior real and personal property tax abatements, which were approved by this council in 2014, 2015, and 2021. Employment levels at the facility over this time have increased from 91 employees in 2014 to fluctuating slightly over the years to 105 employees present day. The abatement approved in 2021 was rescinded by the council in 23 as the prior owner did not follow through with the installation of the equipment, excluding the odor mitigation system. The proposed improvements included in this request are similar to what was proposed and approved in 2021. In June of last year, the company did receive a real property tax abatement for the new warehouse facility and distribution facility that's located just north of their main plant. Construction immediately commenced after the abatement was approved last summer, and it's nearing completion today. With the current request, the company will retain 105 employees while adding 31 jobs as a result of this investment. The hourly wage for the 30 semi-skilled new positions, excluding benefits, is estimated at just over $24. Total annual salaries for the new jobs, including 1 salaried position, is estimated over $2 million. Similar to the prior approved abatement, staff is recommending a 5-year abatement for both the real and personal property tax abatement request. A standard phase-in for the abatement is recommended, which would begin at 100% the first year and then decrease 20% annually over the life of the abatement. And this is just the first step of the process, so this is the declaratory resolution. If approved tonight, we will be before you for the confirming resolution in 2 weeks, and at that time, we'll also present some additional information on the expected tax benefits as far as what would be abated and what would be paid over the life of the abatement. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Spear? Mr. Violi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kind of piggybacking on what I asked the last gentleman, personal property, you said it will be $19 million,
Correct.
which I believe, since we have SEA 1, the threshold is $2 million, so that's $17 million over. That's going to generate some future tax revenue, I imagine.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Spear? Well, thank you as always. I'm going to piggyback on Mr. Violi's question. And I heard what you said a couple moments ago, that if in fact this advances to the second stage of the process, that there'll be some additional information that the council, you typically submit to the council with regard to anticipated tax revenue and the impact of the abatement. And we always appreciate that information, and it's always very well done. Getting back to Mr. Violi's question, at that time, in light of the change with regard to the treatment of personal property in Indiana, I'd ask for some additional detail from the staff than perhaps we've received in the past, since we're, to my recollection, this is the first time that we're going to be confronted with a tax abatement request in this new reality that we live in. Some additional thought from the staff and perhaps the owner with regard to why shouldn't that change in the law change our perspective with regard to the length of tax abatement and the typical schedule that we've, for tax abatement that we've applied with regard to personal property? I'm not indicating that we should treat it any differently, but I think it would be beneficial for us to hear from you as well as the owner, why shouldn't that fairly significant change in state law impact how we have traditionally treated these type of requests? So not for tonight, it's not the time for that, but I wanted to get that on your radar screen so that when and if we advance to the next stage in the process, that we could have that interaction. But again, I appreciate the information that you've shared. Any additional questions for Mr. Spear? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If you would, please come forward.
Good evening, council members. I'm Elodie Flory, CEO of United Pet Food Producer USA, 1011 West 11th Street in Mishawaka. So as you know, United Pet Food Producer USA operates its first and only U.S. manufacturing facility here in Mishawaka. We've been operational since July 2024, and I hope everybody sees the effort and the commitment we have to grow in the community. If anybody had the chance to walk by the warehouse, the new warehouse that's hopefully being commissioned this week, please do so, and you'll see a real improvement in the area compared to the old building. So as we mentioned, obviously, there is new equipment coming into play, but there is also a lot of new jobs. Right now, with the warehouse, we anticipate about 10 jobs opening. We are at 27 right now. So there is 27 jobs opening right now for United Pet Food Producer USA. So we're very confident to, the growth. And those jobs are skilled manufacturing jobs with wages and benefits that supports the family and the community. And for us, that's what's important as well, is we're bringing also new equipment to all our people to work with better, more updated equipment and improve the quality of work that they'll be doing in the facility as well. So this investment will further strengthen, Mishawaka's economy while also creating lasting opportunity for decades, right? We're talking about improving the area. We're buying our cardboards from somebody down the street, right? That they also already put a new machine in, right? So it's an impact in the community to be able to have new machinery in place here. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Ms. Hahn.
Hi, thanks for coming tonight. I did have a quick question. Mrs. Spear mentioned receiving, and then you said the warehouse and more equipment and more jobs. Do you anticipate a lot more traffic into the area with this warehouse, and what have you done to kind of prepare for that?
Yes, great question. So the traffic is already there, right? Because of the old warehouse, that's why we pulled the trigger so quickly on the new warehouse, right? I think we had some people here coming for new signage to make sure, the roads were clear a couple of weeks ago, and that's what we're doing. This new warehouse will help with finished goods, right? But we'll also have raw material coming into the facility. The raw material, part of this project, there is a bulk receiving improvement to allow us to unload those trucks quicker. Right now, we're very restrained into how quickly we can unload those trucks. And so if they're late or if there is a snowstorm, which we had a lot recently, right, then those trucks get backed up really quickly. And we want to mitigate that. This issue is happening right now, and this project will allow us to make some of that improvement to allow those trucks to be, turn over quicker, and by doing so, removing them from off the streets with the issue we're having right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Violi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for attending tonight. We appreciate it. You said you're going to be adding 27 new jobs on the warehouse that's going to be finished. That's not including this 31 new jobs if we go to the next phase with this abatement.
Correct. So right now, not just the warehouse, but just, by allowing us, in general. We currently have, you can go on Indeed if anybody wants to have a job, by the way. We have 27 jobs opening right now. Yeah.
On top of the 105 that you already have.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions? Mrs. Volker.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you again. I'm curious about the equipment that will help with the odor control.
All right.
We had very extensive presentation in 2021, I think, with the last abatement, and then, things didn't follow through the way we'd hoped. And I would be curious, and I mean, you don't have to do it today, but maybe another time that you come, you could tell us about the equipment that you're putting in and how that will benefit the people who, I don't live around it, but I smell it at my house sometimes. So, it certainly is an issue, and I know for people who live close, it's even more of an issue, so
Yeah.
be curious about that.
I obviously cannot speak about what happened with the previous company.
Right.
We're two separate company. What I can say is when we took over, obviously, Wellness Space was receiving weekly emails about smell, right? We've been operational since July 2024, and I can tell you that the few phone calls that we had, right, we were very reactive. We made improvements, straight away. So I don't want to be here to say, hey, this new equipment is going to help with odor control. I'm not saying that, right? And I want to make that very clear because, like, when we took over, we didn't want to make promises. At the end of the day, we are manufacturing pet food, and so guaranteeing that, tomorrow is going to be no smell because of the new equipment, we'll be lying. So I don't want to be here and do that. What I can say is the smell is mainly coming from fines, right? So when you go through the process and making a kibble, there is fines that generates. Those fines, when they burn, that's what smells. A lot of people think it's the steam. The steam is just steam. It's just water, right? It's really those fines, right? New equipment will help with those fines. Now, I can develop a little bit more on that, but I absolutely don't want to make promises to say, hey, for sure, once we put this new equipment, ever again, you're going to smell pet food, because at the end of the day, we're producing pet food. But what I can say is, since we took over, I think, and I hope the community saw an improvement. If it's not, please let me know. We'll set up a meeting. But I think that there has been an improvement since United Pet Food took over.
So just to follow up, I know
Yeah.
you can't guarantee, but do you anticipate that there will be further improvement?
I
No
anticipate.
guarantee, but your
There is no
anticipation with
guarantee, yes.
the investment is that there would be
Yeah,
further improvement.
so the new equipment will have a vertical dryer and an extruder, not to go into too much detail, and then a vacuum coater as well, which basically is a vacuum system inside, so it's more insulated than our current equipment. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is an upgrade on the equipment, but I don't want to make promises because it's pet food. Yeah,
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Emmons?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to compliment National Pet. I had an incident where I called you
Yep.
about an odor and that. And this was about 5 o'clock in the evening, and you said, I'll get back with you. Well, 2 hours later, you got back with me, and you explained the problem, that the filters were plugged.
Yep.
And that was causing the odor to go out into the atmosphere and into our neighborhoods.
Yep.
And you corrected that situation, and you said that the filters need to be checked more often than what they are now, or
Yep.
were.
Correct.
And that. And since then, I have not had any phone calls about an odor in the air, which is great. So I appreciate you getting into it and finding the problem and getting back and correcting it and getting back to me so I can get back to my constituents. Because we have a line where one person calls and if they have a problem, they call this person, and the person calls this person, and they get back to me, and they tell me the problem. I get to you, and you fix it, and I get back, and it filters out that everything has been taken care of. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking an interest in finding the problem and getting back with me and not just pushing it on the side. And I know that the community appreciates it also.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, and I mentioned multiple times, every time we run a new recipe, this is a new system, right? And giving us direct feedback will allow us to identify the root cause really, really quickly. And by doing so, we're also putting things in place to implement. The filter, we have a rotation on them, right? This day, we saw that for this specific recipe, we have a little bit more fines than the other. Well, on this recipe, we increased the number of time we're changing the filters, right? Having that direct feedback really allows us to improve as well.
Well, I appreciate it, and I know the constituents appreciate it, and I appreciate you getting on it right away. And since then, I haven't had any phone calls, which is great, so thank you.
Believe me, it's great for me as well.
Thank you. Other questions? Then again, I want to thank you for the information that you've shared and also the way that you and the new ownership group have embraced the community. Not just in terms of taking Mr. Emmons' phone calls and getting it back to him, although that's very important, but the things that you've done to invest in the community beyond your day-to-day business activities. And as I believe I said at the time that we approved the abatement for the warehouse, I'm really appreciative of the long-term relationship that this entity, under all of its ownership variations, has had with the community, the jobs that you provide, and I do find you to be a good corporate citizen. One of the things that the law obligates us to find, if we're going to approve this abatement, especially at the second stage of the process, is that granting the abatement, the benefits of what you're proposing, the investment that you're going to make in our community, justify the abatement, the deduction. And going back to my comments to Mr. Spear, in addition to hearing from staff, I think hearing from you and your organization with regard to that personal property change in state law and how that benefits you, and in turn, how the investment that you're going to make beyond the benefit that state law already provides you, how that benefits Mishawaka, I think that's going to be important for the council to hear. I also want to go back to Mrs. Volker's questions to you. I think you're wise not to make any guarantees or any promises, and in hindsight, I think that one of the problems the last time that the odor control issues were brought before us was that some expectations were set on the part of the council and the community. And it was because we were given very specific, quantifiable representations with regard to the effectiveness of the equipment.
Yeah.
We really never got to how effective the equipment was going to be because it was never put in place. So I'll acknowledge that. But I do think that, at least from my standpoint, I'm inclined to support this, but I'm going to need much more information with regard to how this investment in equipment and real estate is similar to what was brought to us in the past and how it's different. And again, I'm not going to ask you, for at least from my standpoint, to quantify the effectiveness of the odor control. And I'm really pleased to hear by those who live much closer to it than I that you're already doing things to try to address that, and that's much appreciated. But if odor control is a component of the investment that is at issue here, I think some much more detail with regard to what that looks like and what the impact is going to be on the surrounding neighborhood is going to be an important factor, at least in my mind, with regard to the decision that I'll make at the second step of the process. But I'm inclined to support this evening, but I look forward to that ongoing conversation at our next meeting so that we can indeed find that the benefits here justify the abatement that we're being asked to approve.
Sounds good. We'll get something ready.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else with us this evening who wishes to speak in favor? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Beninky?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Ms. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution passes 9-0.
Ordinances on second reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2026-01, and ordinance amending ordinance 5951, fixing the salaries of, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one, out of order. Proposed ordinance number 2025-49, an ordinance to establish 120 North Ray Street as a local historical landmark within the city of Mishawaka, Indiana.
Thank you. May we have the committee report?
Yes, Mr. President, to the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2025-49, report that they have examined said matter and that in their opinion, it should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. With that, we'll move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2025-49. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, Krista Hills, Senior Planner with the Department of Planning and Community Development, but tonight I am speaking as the Secretary of the Historic Preservation Commission. The Historic Preservation Commission held a public hearing on December 2nd, 2025, and forwarded this to you with a favorable recommendation. Little background, the Van Dinter Rands House, as it is come to be known, at 120 North Race was built in 1920 and was the only notable house on the block according to our 1995 survey. And at the time of that survey, there were 8 houses on the east side of Race Street, but 4 have since been demolished. So this is the only notable one in the block, and it is still standing. So now is the time to preserve it. So that is the architecture side of it. And then there is also a famous person side of it, I guess we'll call it. In the 1930s, it was the home of George Van Dinter. His family's business was Van Dinter Organ. Pete DeKeever is here to give more information about the business, but they made organs both locally and nationwide, and they were known for their quality. At some point, the upstairs was converted into 3 apartments. However, it has now been returned to a single-family home. The Rands have owned the house since 2024. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them, but I would like to invite Cody and Katie up here to tell you about their home.
Thank you. Any questions for Krista before we hear from other speakers? Thank you for your work on this. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Please come forward.
Hello, good evening. Katie and Cody Rands.
And let's hear from the two of you first, and then Mr. DeKeever afterwards. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
We just want to preserve the history of our home and our block, and we love the city, and we've been here for over 20 years now. And we did a lot of information gathering when we started this process, and encouraged by neighbors to do so, and just found out that there is a lot of history from this home. And Pete has more information that he's going to share with everybody tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? Ms. Hahn?
Not a question, just a comment. I also sit on the Historic Preservation Committee, and I just want to thank you guys for doing this, for taking the time to gather the information and help preserve some of our historical homes. You said that neighbors encouraged you, so I'd like to encourage you to encourage more neighbors. We're always hoping that people will do the same thing for their homes, churches, schools. We're really trying to get some of our historical buildings in the city, marked, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to do it, and we're happy to have you on the list.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Thank you, folks. Mr. DeKeever?
Good evening. I'm Pete DeKeever, historian laureate for the city of Mishawaka. I reside at 16581 Chandler Boulevard in Mishawaka. I strongly support the designation of the Van Dinter Rands House as a local historic landmark. The house is a fine, surviving example of the middle class and upper middle class housing that was being built near downtown around the time of World War I. 100 years ago, to give you some perspective, over 20 houses lined both sides, both the east and west sides of North and South Race. Then the commercial downtown and other development began encroaching upon that street. Today, 4 parking lots fill the entire west side of Race Street from 1st to 4th Streets, and only 9 houses remain on the east side of the street. Designating the Van Dinter Rands house as a historic landmark encourages the preservation of other historic homes on the street. The house is also important for its association with the Van Dinter family, who operated the Van Dinter Organ Company. And this company actually goes way back even to Holland, several hundred years ago. Louis Van Dinter, George's father, brought the business from Detroit to Mishawaka in the 1880s or so, and it was a really unique manufacturing enterprise in the city of Mishawaka for decades. We have hundreds of houses and other buildings in Mishawaka that merit landmark designation. And I am so pleased that the Rands family loves and cares for this house and wants it to be a Mishawaka landmark. Please support their efforts with landmark designation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. DeKeever? Mrs. Volker?
Thank you. Now, hi, Pete. I don't have a question about the house, which I think is adorable, and I know I've told you guys that before, how much I appreciate all the work that's been done over so many years. But I wanted to ask, is the organ in St. Joe Church a Van Dinter?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and Louis Van Dinter was a member of St. Joseph Church. He was part of the parish. And originally he came to Mishawaka working on the contract to construct the organ at the old St. Joseph Church that was built in the 1860s. And then there was one other church that he also was creating the organ for. And he loved Mishawaka so much that he decided to move his business from Detroit to Mishawaka. And there were several other church organs that have since been lost in Mishawaka churches that he installed. And so the one at St. Joseph Church, which is still largely a Van Dinter organ, it's had work done on it over the years. And even Louis himself was involved in a couple refurbishings of the St. Joseph Church organ before he passed away in the 1930s. And so, yeah, that's a great connection to Louis Van Dinter. Unfortunately, the organ factory, which stood on the west side of Spring Street, like right across from where today is Mishawaka Catholic School, that organ factory building is long gone, as is the house that Louis lived in, which was immediately to the south, right there at the northwest corner of 4th and Spring Streets. So it's great that we have this house that connects to members of the family, and George did work at the organ factory. So he was one of multiple family members that worked there, and then he also worked at Ball Band in later years.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you. Other questions from the council? Again, thank you, Mr. DeKeever.
Welcome.
I always learn something new whenever you appear in the Historic Preservation Commission appear before us, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else with us this evening who wishes to speak in favor? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing no one, are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Volker.
That's okay. Just really quickly, I wanted to send a thank you out to Bob Sullivan, because I know Bob worked really closely with our homeowners with the Ranses to help them put their, do the research and put the application together. So it's, it's a good community effort, and just wanted to point that out and say thank you to everybody.
Well said, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? And again, I will call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0. Now, proposed ordinance number 2026-01, an ordinance amending ordinance 5951, fixing the salaries of all sworn police employees of the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, for the year beginning January 1st, 2026.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Budget and Finance, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2026-01, report that they have examined said matter and that their opinion should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. With that, we will move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2026-01. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, City Controller Rebecca McGuire. I'm here for your approval, an amendment to the police salary ordinance. We've updated the night shift differential during contract negotiations. It's going from $700 annually to $2,500. We've also added the drone operator specialty pay at $500 annually.
Thank you. Any questions for the controller? Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing no one, are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0.
Thank you, and with that, we will move into privilege of the floor. At this time, members of the public are invited to the podium to speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor.
Good evening, Brian Wilberg, Fire Chief. I'd like to read a little thing here for you. First off, I'd say thank you so much for the opportunity to address you this evening. It's been my privilege to serve as a firefighter for the city of Mishawaka for the past 30 years. As you know, my retirement comes effective February 14th, 2026. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mayor Wood for having faith in me to lead what I believe is the greatest fire department in the world. On the day he offered me the position, we discussed many things. Most I can't remember because I was a little surprised and taken back. But one thing I absolutely remember is I told him it's going to be like turning an aircraft carrier. That it's going to be changed, it's not going to be fast, it's not going to be easy. I said at times I'm going to make people upset, whether it be the firefighters, you, the council, city administration, or himself. But if you'd have patience with me, I promised him it would work and it would be better than we ever thought, and I was committed to it. I was pleased that he gave me the patience he did and the grace he did. I stand here today, I can proudly say not only did we meet that expectation, we by far exceeded it. And in all successes we've had on this department is solely because of the dedicated men and women of the Mishawaka Fire Department. I cannot thank the firefighters enough for their commitments and their dedication. The knowledge, skills, and abilities they possess today is worlds apart from when I started on the job. That alone is enough to place the department in a different category than the other ones around it, but it's actually a byproduct of the most important thing. The thing that makes this department truly special now is its culture. It is a culture driven by doing what is right more than being right, and there's a common belief that the whole is more important than oneself. They have elevated the expectation of care on every call for service to a level that the bar has been raised to a point I'm routinely asked by the leaders of other departments in our area, how are you all doing this? The answer is simple, and one thing I'm most proud of, it's the people. They are doing it. I could go on for hours explaining it to you, but instead I will share something I read decades ago in college, a quote I've held on since then, and it feels like many, many decades ago. But Warren Buffett said, surround yourself with good people that push you to do and be better. No drama or negativity, just higher goals and higher motivation. Good times and positive energy, no jealousy or hate. Simply bringing out the absolute best in each other. That quote right there, those 6 simple sentences, clearly define the men and women who show up every day to protect the Princess City, and we couldn't be more blessed to have them. To be given the opportunity and this gift to work alongside them has been one of the greatest honors of my life, and I will cherish these memories until my last breath. Next, to the members of the council, the ones who have worked for now and in the past over these years. I'd like to thank you as well. It's a pleasure working with a group that shares the same love for the city that I do. Your dedication to our department has also played a vital role in where we stand today, and we definitely could not be here without any of you. We are only one spoke in this wheel, but you've always treated us with the respect they deserve, and I am always greatly appreciative of that. So thank you. Lastly, I'd like to thank other department heads in the city who have gotten to work with. They also strive every day to make our city a special place it is. Without them and their employees, nothing great would ever be accomplished around here, and I feel they also need to be commended for showing up and giving all for their assistance as well. Cooperation between many always triumphs over control of the few, and that is a special trait each of them personifies. She's going to kill me. One person I'd like to make special mention of is our controller, Rebecca McGuire. I know I don't have to explain to her how vital she is. You all know better than most. For me, Becky has been more than a numbers person. She's been a leader, a mentor, a confidant, and a friend. Even when she didn't have one to spare, she always gave me a minute when I needed it, often dropping a new pearl of wisdom on me. If I was successful at anything as the fire chief, she is one of the reasons why. I struggle to find the words to describe my admiration for her, so I would simply say, thank you, Becky. My life is better just because you're a part of it. So soon I'll walk out the doors for the last time as an active member of the fire department. It will be one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I have loved waking up and coming to work every day since I was hired. That alone is a gift most people never get to experience. The experience and the lessons the city and job have bestowed upon me over these years are far too many to count. I do not know why the good Lord blessed me like he did, but I'm absolutely grateful he chose to. I wish everyone nothing but the best. I will forever be humbled and grateful for the opportunity to even be a small part of the Mishawaka Fire Department in the city of Mishawaka. So God bless you all, God bless our citizens, and thank you for your time. So.
Thank you, Chief, for your service to the community and your leadership as well. It's always been a pleasure for the council to work with you, likewise, and we wish you well as you move on to this next stage of your life. I hear tell of some grandchildren in another state and things of that nature, but my hope would be that this won't be the last time that we'll see you in the Princess City, even between now and February 14th, but we wish you the best.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my grandson's down in Jacksonville, Florida. We're not going to be moving yet, a few years, probably a couple years yet, but my wife's already let me know that it will be happening. So my daughter's finishing down at Ball State, so we're going to wait till she'll be done next fall. So we won't even consider it till after she's done, so.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? Mr. Mamalante.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, just wanted to thank you for everything you've done prior to being chief on the department, and really have gotten to know you on a more professional side of things as in your position in chief, and working alongside some of my fellow colleagues on the Wage Commission or negotiation team. I always tell your firefighters that you fight for them every minute, but you also have to play by the rules and do what's best for the city financially. But you played that role very, very well. I've enjoyed being your friend on the personal side of things, and really enjoyed working with you on the professional side of things. I wish you nothing but the best. And I know our city can't thank you and your staff enough for everything that you guys do. And I'm always proud of our fire department and our police department, and we'll put them up with anybody in the country. So thank you for everything, and continued success and health. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said. Anything else from the council? Thank you, Chief.
Oh, I was just going to say, I almost started crying listening to you. So,
Yeah.
gonna miss you.
I'm going to miss it. It's like I said, it was not an easy decision to come to. One of the things I keep telling, I was down at a conference Saturday at a class still, and they made fun of me for going to a class when I retire next week, but can't never stop learning. One of the hardest part they never talk about through every leadership book you ever read, every class you ever take, or when you do it, one thing they never talk about is the hardest thing of leadership doing is getting out of the way. You train people, you give them the tools, but you got to give them the opportunity. You have to get out of the way and let them lead and let them do their thing. So now is just a very good time. Like I said, our culture is amazing. We have a lot of motivated people doing great things. It's a younger department, So we've built a great foundation now for them. Now it's going to be exciting. Get out of the way, let them take over, and watch them build the walls. And there'll be no ceiling, there'll be no roof to this thing, the way they're going. So it's time to let someone else start doing it now. So, all right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak under privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor? Thank you. With that, we'll move into unfinished business, of which there is none. New business, is there any new business to come before the council? Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick note that the second district meeting will take place Thursday, February 12th at 7 p.m. At the Blair Hills Pool Complex. Our guest speaker will be Ken Witkowski, Director of Code Enforcement. All Mishawaka residents are welcome to attend.
Thank you. Other new business? Then hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.